All right, let's get to talk about capital and revenue expenditure, right? Basically, when you're appreciating or when you're talking about expenditure, we're talking about money that has been used by the business. Yeah, expenditure. It's money that has been used by the business. Basically, so it's money used. That's what's up. So when you're talking about the money that has been used with the business, we can classify this amount of this money into either capital expenditure or capital money or revenue money, basically. Capital expenditure or revenue expenditure. When we are talking about revenue expenditure, we are appreciating that these are the different funds that the business is going to be probably taking towards acquiring a fixed asset. Not just acquiring a fixed asset, but also even upgrading a fixed asset. Right? Upgrading, we're talking about a physical asset. Physical, oh, come on. Is that the spelling of physical? Physical like this. Physical assets like this. Yeah? So we're going to talk about them as fixed assets or even non-current assets. Non-current assets. Yeah? So when we talk about the part on capital expenditure, any fund that has been used towards the acquiring of fixed assets or upgrading fixed assets, we're going to be terming that a capital expenditure. As you might have guessed, probably on the other side of the coin, when we're talking about revenue expenditure, we're talking about the amounts of money that are used not in acquiring fixed assets, but probably in day-to-day business operations. Yeah? We're talking about the part on revenue expenditure. We're talking about funds towards probably ongoing expenses, yeah? Ongoing expenses. That's basically what you may say as far as this is concerned. We're talking about these are basically short-term funds that we're talking about here. My short-term spendings. Short-term spendings. Right? We're talking about they are used in daily business operations. Right? For daily business operations. So we can these. We can actually spend money in daily basis as far as revenue expenditures are concerned. So if you're going to be talking about a couple of examples here, we're talking about the part. Check this part. If we're talking about the amount of money that is going to be used, maybe to buy a fixed assets, we have just bought. For example, if we probably have just bought some plant and machinery, yeah, plant and machinery, the money that's going to be used to buy this plant and machinery is called capital expenditure. The amount of money that's going to be used to carry this transportation costs of this plant and machinery into the business is going to be classified as capital expenditure. The installation costs are still part and parcel of that of that equipment. They're going to be treated again as a plant as capital expenditure. The initial training costs, we're going to be taking them again as capital expenditure. I hope that all made sense, because this is not going to be done daily. It's an amount of money, it's an investment that you're making towards this fixed asset, yeah? So we're going to be taking that as a capital expenditure. I hope that made sense. Even when you talk about the part of painting the house, let's say that we have bought a building per se. If you have bought a building and we are painting it for the first time, right? We are increasing its value, painting for first time. Painting for the first time, that's going to be treated again as capital expenditure, because that's the initial painting. But if it's repainting, all is going to be coming through this side now. Why? Because we're now maintaining, we're actually taking care of a fixed asset. We have painted before, we are now painting for the second time. It's no longer capital, but that's now revenue, even though we are doing that on a fixed asset. I hope that made sense. So back to this example, as far as this plant and machinery is concerned, if we are now carrying out some repairs now, as far as this plant and machinery has been probably bought or probably is malfunctioned, and we're now going ahead probably to put in some money for repairs. Repairs are going to be coming through as maintenance costs. They're going to be coming through as revenue expenditure. Even when you are giving the guys who are using this machinery some salaries or some wages per se, we're going to be talking about the part of revenue expenditure. If we go ahead and buy some lubrication to probably put on this plant and machinery, we're going to be talking about the part again of revenue expenditure. I hope that just made sense to you. So that's basically what you're talking about as far as revenue and capital expenditure is concerned. Right, I have a couple of examples of tasks that we have here, and these they just want us to identify whether this is revenue and a capital expenditure. Matter of fact, I just already did the part of arranging them in order already. Talk about the part of a facility or a factory, including the upgrade or expansion. I'm talking about the part of this is going to be coming through is capital expenditure. Right, vehicles such as trucks, if they are bought, we're talking about the part of capital expenditure. Manufacturing equipment, that's capital expenditure. Computers used for a long period of time, that's going to be capital. Furniture used for a long period of time, that's going to, in purchasing all these things, we're talking about the part of using capital expenditure. But on this other side of the coin now, when you talk about the amount of money that's going to be given is employees' salaries and wages, that's going to be coming through is revenue expenditure. Talking about overhead costs, we're talking about salaries for corporate staff now. Right, they're going to be working probably in offices. Those guys are going to be in the administration. We're going to be talking about revenue expenditure. We're talking about the part again on research and development, that's revenue. Utilities and rentals, that's revenue. Business travels, that's revenue. Property taxes, that's revenue. Electricity bills, that's revenue. Repainting, that's revenue. Repairs, that's revenue. All that. I hope that that is making sense. So capital is for fixed assets. Revenue is just for daily expenses, short term, of course. So I hope you're taking the notes as far as revenue and capital expenditure are concerned. Otherwise, I will just going to be sending again some stuff again as far as the capital and revenue are concerned, for you to be able to differentiate. If you're given a transaction, you're supposed to be in a position to be able to differentiate whether it is a capital or a revenue expenditure. Basically, that's what we have as far as this subtopic is concerned. Yeah.